Hey guys. So obviously I'm either gone or trying to make sure that things work while I'm gone. So if you have questions about anything that's going on in this presentation, please feel free to Google chat me, or uh, you could also email me, or I guess wait till I get back. So I'm going to start everybody on this slide, even though I know that there is one class that did this. So if you're the class that is done with this slide already, I guess you guys can skip over this and move on to the next slide. This one's going to be really pretty simple and really pretty short. I think there's going to be a series of 3 of these, especially for the people that are on the A day. B day people, I will be back on Wednesday to kind of do the Spanish-American War stuff with you. Just a quick reminder that the Seeking Empire worksheet is due on the day that you are watching this video. So kind of take that in mind. Also, I reserved a number of you guys for Flex on Thursday, Friday, Monday, or Tuesday next week to take care of projects and tests that you owe me. All right, so basically, here's what we're looking at. We'd already talked about how the United States found Midway Island and claimed that as a coaling station. We also talked about how we use the aspect of fear and force to force Japan into a treaty of friendship with us so that we would be able to take advantage of their location in the Pacific. Once we kind of start to make those first imperialistic gains, things get pretty easy. The next step we kind of make is what we buy Alaska from Russia. Russia had owned Alaska for a number of years. It thought that there was something to be had there. However, they could never figure out a way to use it or a way to get anything out of it. So they were looking to sell it because Russia was having money trouble. We were looking to add to our influence in the Pacific Ocean to give ourselves some Navy bases and possibly some resources that we didn't have. And so we had an eye on Russia. Most of the American public was not in favor of buying Alaska because they thought it was useless. Many people didn't even know where it is. I'm going to assume you guys know where Alaska is, and we'll go over this when I'm back again. Alaska was purchased for $7.2 million, or approximately 2 cents an acre. And if you ask just about anyone, 2 cents an acre is an amazing deal for land. Again, the American public was outraged that we spent $7 million on something, but in the end, Alaska ends up being a huge resource because of the amount of gold that is in it, but also just the pure land. If you place Alaska inside the United States, you'll see easily that it's the biggest state that we have. There's also gold there, lumber, and a number of valuable resources that we don't have available to us here in the United States. Our next movement is Hawaii. Now, Hawaii is a little bit dicey. Again, we find Midway Island. We scare Japan. We buy Alaska. We basically steal Hawaii. Missionaries went to Hawaii in order to teach the Hawaiians religion and to civilize them. Along the way, they got into a really good relationship with a Hawaiian king, a guy named Kamehameha. And Kamehameha decided that he wanted to model a little bit of his government on what the United States did. And so he asked the Americans that were there as missionaries to help him write a constitution. Once the missionaries' work was done, they decided that they were going to stay. And one of the things that they could do to make money for themselves was to sell pineapples, bananas, and sugar back to the United States. The United States was more than happy to get these things. The United States kind of enjoyed a special trade relationship with Hawaii, and the Americans on Hawaii enjoyed a special relationship with the king. And then one day, as everyone does, the king dies, and his daughter, Liliuokalani, love that name, Liliuokalani. Think about that one as a kid name if you ever decide to reproduce and have pet baby humans. But Liliuokalani thought Hawaii should be for Hawaiians, and so she removed the Americans' special privileges. They decided to revolt, and in kind of a bloodless revolution, they overthrew Liliuokalani and took control of the island. The issue with that was that when they offered to give the United States the island, the Americans said, no, you can't take an island like that. The Americans who seized control of Hawaii decided to proclaim it its own country and call it the Republic of Hawaii. The first president of the Republic of Hawaii was a guy named Sanford Dole. Now, think really hard. That name Dole should be familiar to you because probably a lot of the bananas and pineapples and canned fruit that you buy come from the Dole Corporation, which bears his name. After the Spanish-American War, the United States decided to annex Hawaii and officially add it to our territory, making it American territory, and eventually it would become a state. Now, along with this comes some other issues. As we're expanding and added territory, we're also trying to gain influence in our own Western Hemisphere. Remember, the Monroe Doctrine said that European countries couldn't add territory in the Western Hemisphere. They didn't say that we couldn't. And so we have three instances where we get involved in situations in the Western Hemisphere where maybe we don't necessarily belong. The first was called the Pan American Conference. We decided that we would host a meeting for all countries of the Western Hemisphere, kind of a chance to get together and discuss our part of the world and things that needed to be done and things that were going well. This is actually the first meeting of its kind at this point in history. They happen all the time now. But during this meeting in Washington, D.C., what basically came out of it is we wanted to establish our dominance over the other countries. They weren't quite as in favor of it. The takeaway from this situation was that the rest of our hemisphere started to see that we were becoming kind of a big, important place, and that we were kind of establishing ourselves in the role of leader, or in some cases, bully over our part of things. The next instance of problems in the Western Hemisphere would have been the Chilean Crisis. The Chilean Crisis is really odd. I'm not going to lie to you. It's one of those things in history that I'm like, are you serious? There was a civil war in Chile. Remember, a civil war involves people inside a country. In other words, the Chilean Civil War doesn't really involve the United States, but we got involved anyway. We decided to back a side that was supporting the president. We gave them money and weapons. The side that didn't like the president obviously didn't appreciate this. Eventually, the side that didn't like the president won their civil war and overthrew their president. The United States was not exactly very popular in Chile after this. Not too long after this revolution ended, a bunch of U.S. Navy sailors on a weekend leave in Chile got involved in a bar fight over basically whose girlfriend someone was dancing with. That bar fight spilled into the streets. 2 Americans were killed and 16 were injured. The United States demanded an apology from Chile. When Chile refused to apologize for a bar fight, the United States threatened war. Chile basically was like, are you kidding? You're going to threaten war over a bar fight? And we said, hey, just so you know, we have the battleships all fueled and ready to go. We're going to come down there and we're going to stomp you guys. Eventually, in order to avert war, Chile apologized and sent a monetary damages check to each of the families of the Navy sailors that were killed or injured. The third instance of the United States getting involved in the Western Hemisphere is something called the Venezuelan boundary dispute. The Venezuelan boundary dispute is basically an argument between Venezuela and Great Britain. Venezuela shared a border with a place called British Guiana that Great Britain owned. A large chunk of gold was found in a disputed area of land. We offered to mediate this dispute to find out whose land this was. The British refused to let us mediate the dispute because they figured we would be unfair and just give the land to Venezuela. We insisted that we be allowed to mediate. When the British said no, we actually threatened war to put ourselves in a position to be able to mediate. The British again kind of scoffed at this and said, well, you're going to go to war with us because we won't let you decide an argument. And we said yes. The British eventually kind of backed down and let us mediate the dispute. We actually eventually decided that the land actually belonged to the British and the giant chunk of gold should go to them. Kind of the takeaway here, though, is we basically stepped up to the largest country in the world and threatened them, and they backed down. This is a pretty big moment in American history because we kind of flex our muscles and finally someone takes us seriously. Now, that's really the end of this short chunk of notes. It was about 8 minutes long, 9 minutes long. Make sure you get these things down in your notes. And if you need to pause, rewind, go back, ask me any questions, please feel free to do that. Now, if you're one of the B-Day classes, now is going to be the opportunity that you're going to work on your map sheets. If you're in the A classes, you're going to continue on and look at the notes on the Spanish-American War next. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.